We can look at the other camera if you would like. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to our virtual sanctuary from Temple Beth. I am Rabbi Mark Goldfarb. It is a pleasure to welcome you all with us on this Shabbat. I'm joined by our cantor, Ariel Goldfarb, and our accompanist, Dr. Ray Irwin, as well as our Captain Video, David Youngman. I think we will give him an honorary title of Captain Video. David Youngman, as you know, we have a doctor and a cantorial soloist, so we will have an honorary captain of our video this evening, David Youngman. We gather on this Shabbat. It is Shabbat Hagadol, the great Shabbat, the Sabbath immediately before Passover. This is the Sabbath, the Shabbat during the year when in the past the rabbi would offer a rather lengthy sermon. Don't worry, no lengthy sermon tonight. I saved that for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And so we have the opportunity to gather on this Shabbat, the Shabbat preceding our Passover, so that we might share together in this time, albeit in our physical distancing moments. A note, by the way, the cantor and I and David are working on a special presentation for the Passover Seder. This will be posted on Wednesday afternoon. It will be on our YouTube channel. We will send out an e-blast with the link, but it will be the Seder, but it will be recorded so that while you are conducting your Seder on Wednesday or on Thursday, you can stream this, pause it, you won't miss anything, or for those who are really desperate, you can fast forward it and get to the appropriate parts that you want to get to. But we will be streaming the Haggadah, complete with text, in our wonderful, sophisticated, Brotherhood-sponsored streaming system. And so you will have the Haggadah text. Cantor and I will go through the entire Haggadah. We will have the songs. We will have the words posted for you. And all of that will be available to you on our YouTube channel. You can stream it. It will not be live. So if you pause, you won't miss anything. If you fast forward, you'll miss a bunch of important stuff. But I leave that to your discretion. Shabbat is our opportunity. Normally, I would say Shabbat is our opportunity to hit the pause button on the universal remote of life, but we've been in this pause mode for some time. And so Shabbat comes, and it challenges us to find meanings on this day of rest when for many of us, we have been resting during the week. Or for others of us, we have had to learn how to shift our work activities to an online environment, which I have found to be incredibly stressful and incredibly taxing. And so I am grateful for the opportunity of Shabbat and our chance to just pause for a moment and to take a deep breath. Indeed, I invite you, in the privacy of your home or in your small gatherings, to do exactly that. Let's take a very deep breath. Hold it for a moment. And slowly let it out. We are living under a truly unique, stressful time. None of us have experienced anything like this in our entire lives. And so we are struggling and wrestling for ways to make sense out of the days in which we live. How to create sacredness and holiness on a Friday evening when it appears very much like the same Thursday evening and Tuesday evening and Wednesday evening and every evening this week. But that is our challenge. We must find ways to make this time sacred, for that is what Judaism calls us to do, to sanctify time. And we're discovering just what a challenge that is. We're great at sanctifying space. Look at the space from which we are telecommuting, but not telecommuting, in which we are streaming our worship service. This is our sanctuary. We are here because this is where we would usually gather. This is where we would normally gather. And we want to add that sense of normalcy to all of our lives. But this is anything but normal. And so Judaism calls to us to find ways to sanctify this time. Listen to good music, music that you would like to listen to. Read a book, a magazine, something you haven't read in a while. Go for a walk in your neighborhood. Take time to see nature. Life is still there. Life is still happening, even though we have hit the pause button for quite some time. Find ways to sanctify this time. Reach out to friends and to family members on the phone, on the internet. Find ways to connect with people that you haven't connected with. Now is exactly our time to do that. Perhaps even write a letter to a friend or a loved one. These are the ways that we can welcome Shabbat. Our Psalms teach us that we should welcome this time, that we should acknowledge the faithfulness that exists in this time of Shabbat, that we should acknowledge that there is a relationship available to us, a relationship with the Spirit that Shabbat calls us to engage. May you find the ways to engage your spirit on this Shabbat as we welcome Shabbat with words from Psalms. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat. Let us sing a song for the Sabbath day.
Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat Tov lehodot l'Adonai Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat Tov lehodot l'Adonai Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon Ulezamer l'shimcha להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות עלי אסור ועלי נבל עלי היגיון בכינור מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך במעשה ידיך ארנן לא גדלו מעשיך אדוני מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון.
A beautiful and indeed a peppy way to welcome Shabbat. Although every day might seem like a Shabbat to many of us, this is really Shabbat. This is our time to engage our tradition, to struggle with the times in which we live, and to find ways to elevate our spirit. In a moment, we will light our Shabbat candles, and I am honored to again invite Dr. Ray Irwin, our accompanist, to help in that. Our cantor will lead us in the blessing. Following that, we'll be sharing our Kiddush blessing. This is not our normal routine on our Shabbat services here at Temple Beth Or. Usually we hold the Kiddush for our oneg, but we're not having an oneg. So I invite you to, if you have a glass of wine or grape juice, as is your preference, to go ahead and fill a glass so that we might sanctify this time with our symbol of joy. Wine and grape juice, the product of the vine, is understood in Judaism to be a symbol of joy. And though we celebrate our Shabbat with physical distance and limited connection with each other, we nonetheless celebrate the joy of this sacred day. For us to read. You're good with reading? They'll be on the screen here.
Okay. May the rest and quiet of this hour of worship refresh our inner life and renew in us the sense of holiness. Fill our hearts with Shabbat peace and serenity, that we may hear the voice of our innermost soul. You don't have to tame. Oops.
Yep, there we go. Sorry.
And be moved to build our lives on the abiding foundations of all that is holy. That is what Shabbat must be for us, not to tear the world apart, not to wrestle with time, but to let warmth and care and light come forth from deep within ourselves. These candles represent our setting aside this holy time. Their light illumines our innermost selves. Their brightness is a reminder of our constant hope.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
David will look at the camera over you. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, source of all being, who calls us to holy acts through mitzvot and inspires us to light these candles of Shabbat. And let us all say, Amen. We continue with the words of our Kiddush. You're welcome. The blessing sanctifying this day. Wine and juice are a symbol of joy. Wine and juice are a symbol of joy and happiness, our opportunity to embrace the joy of this day. Albeit, as we observe our physical separation, we nonetheless acknowledge the joy of coming to the end of a week.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu
Chaim,
the Shalom.
and Livriyut, to health. I invite us to continue responsively for those who would like to read aloud in their places. May our prayers be spoken with sincerity and with truth.
May our prayers be uttered in humility, acknowledging our frailty and our need for sustaining strength.
May our prayers be offered in gratitude for the blessings we've experienced.
Too numerous to be counted.
May we firmly resolve to take the words of our prayers with us and permit them to guide our actions in the week ahead.
May our prayers speak words of hope to the discouraged, cheer to the distressed, solace to the bereaved, and kindness to all.
May our prayers reflect not only our own needs, but also the needs of others and the needs of our people. May our prayers challenge us to become all that we are capable of being. We continue with the words of our Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Alone, I marvel at the evening sky. Gold caressing blue, blue caressing dark. Here in prayer I listen as creative words once more form light from darkness. I think of the care in which the moon and the stars were made, the mixture that brings evening forth from day. Morning from night has been shaped like human from the earth. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. In this century, and indeed in any century, our deepest hope, our most tender prayer is that we learn to listen. May we listen to one another in openness and in mercy. May we listen to plants and animals in wonder and in respect. May we listen to our own hearts in love and most importantly in forgiveness. May we listen to God in quietness and in awe. And in this listening, which is boundless in its beauty, may we find the wisdom to cooperate with a healing spirit, a divine spirit, who beckons us into peace and community and creativity. We do not ask for a perfect world. Indeed, we know we do not live in a perfect world. The times in which we are living has proved that all so blatantly. But we do ask. We do ask for a better world. We ask for deep, deep listening.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha v'ribarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihyot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
There are times when each of us feels lost or alone, adrift and forsaken, unable to reach those next to us or to be reached by them. And there are days and nights when existence seems to lack all purpose, and our lives seem brief sparks in an indifferent cosmos. Fear and loneliness enter into the soul. None of us is immune to doubt and to fear. None of us escapes times when all seems dark and senseless. Almost a commentary for the times in which we are living. But then, at the ebb tide of the Spirit, just when we feel we can't take that other step, that we cannot continue in this stress and pressure, it is then that the soul cries out and reaches out for companionship. And here we are.
La 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 la
I invite us to continue responsively, reading aloud from the places in which you are. Hold on to your hand when you are about to do an unkind act.
Hold on to your tongue when you are just ready to speak harshly.
Hold on to your heart when evil persons invite you to join their ranks.
Hold on to your temper when you are excited or angry or others are angry with you.
Hold on to the truth, for it will serve you well and do you good throughout eternity.
Hold on to your virtue. It is above all price to you in all times and places.
Hold on to your character, for it is and ever will be your best wealth. We come to one of the central portions of our worship service. The words of the Amidah portion of our worship service are tefillah. Prayers that connect us to our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, Jacob, Rachel, and Leah, who lived over 4,000 years ago, in times even much more precarious than our own. A time in which women often died in childbirth, where infants often died in their infancy because of the diseases rampant. Times when Wars and plagues, locusts would ravage communities, leaving behind only a small remnant. And yet in those days, our ancestors held out hope in a better and a greater tomorrow. And thus these prayers challenge us. In Hebrew, the word to pray, lihitpalel, is a reflexive verb. It is one that bounces back upon ourselves. We are challenged by the words we are about to share. Abraham and Sarah had faith in a better tomorrow. Have we become so cynical in our times of modernity, in our times of incredible comfort and stability, except for these times in which we are living? Have we become so complacent that we have lost hope in a better tomorrow? Prayers that challenge us to get in touch with our humanity, the spark of the divine that lies within us all, compassion and love, and express that to all that we encounter. Prayers that challenge us to stretch ourselves, to work outside of our comfort zone, indeed, like the days in which we are living. May these prayers move us and inspire us to be more than what we were, more than what we are, so that we may embrace tomorrow. To bring us into this time of prayer, our prayer, I share this thought. They say, and the they here are our rabbis and Jewish tradition. They say we're supposed to see ourselves as if we are in a palace. And so during our worship, we bow and take certain steps as the prescribed supplication drops from our lips. But let's be truthful. What do we really know of castles and of royalty? My kitchen faucet constantly leaks, and the kids' faces usually need cleaning. It's not a perfect life. If a door were to open to a real palace, I would probably forget and carry in a load of groceries. No, the door we stand in front of when we arrive at the Amidah begins in silence. And when we open that door, we step through and arrive in our hearts. Mine's not a fancy palace, no jewels, no throne, certainly not fit for royalty. But in this small chamber, for just a few moments on Shabbat, God and I can roll up our sleeves, put some schnapps on the table, sit down together, and finally talk. That's palace enough for me. We continue with the words of our tefillah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
The holiness of this Shabbat day is not for this day alone. We must make it overflow into all of our minutes. We continue responsively.
To hallow our weekdays from these sacred moments, and hour by hour, make the world a sanctuary,
Where every human soul may be at home.
Oh, may the awe we feel at times at the miracle of one another united in prayer be with us tomorrow. Keep tenderness in our words, our touch, and our look.
Praise be Adonai for the Sabbath and its holiness.
Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Peace, shalom, wholeness, and contentment is not the absence of difficulties, but the handling of difficulties without the loss of balance. Shalom is not the absence of tension, but rather the realization and the acceptance that tension is part of life and of living. Shalom is not the absence of war, but the careful waging of war without losing one's balance. There are some things that are worth fighting for. Shalom is not passive nonviolence, but rather active confrontation with truth. Shalom is the ability to see the grain of life and act in accord with it, to discover that effortless effort, action in tune with the way of the universe, is the secret of both peace and of power. As we have found our world turned upside down by this pandemic, as we have come face to face with the inadequacies of our American leadership, the inadequacies in our American society, let us not lose our own sense of balance, but rather use those instances to inspire us to speak out to our very leaders and to call for action, for laws, and for policies, and for procedures that protect all of us, not just those with health insurance, not just those who have access to reserved wealth, those who do not live paycheck to paycheck, but rather let us encourage our government and indeed the infrastructure of American society to be more than what it has been, and to be able to respond to the needs of the many and not the few. Baruch atah Adonai, havarech et amo Yisrael v'kol ha'amim. Bless Israel and all the peoples, b'shalom, with peace, with balance, with hope.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tazim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tazim le'olam. Ki atah hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tazim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tazim le'olam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tazim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tazim le'olam. Tazim le'olam. Tazim
Just as we pray for this sense of balance, shalom and hope for our entire world at this time, when we truly, truly realize that we are all interconnected on this planet. We also want to include our prayers for those who care for the sick, those who are sick, those who are struggling with the challenges to their health and their well-being. I begin with a prayer and invite you during the musical interlude to our Misha Berach, our prayers of healing, to share aloud in your place the name of a loved one. Thus we might name aloud those for whom we are concerned. Misha Berach Avotenu V'Imotenu. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who put themselves at risk to care for the sick. Physicians and nurses, orderlies, patient transporters, hospital cleaning staff, security guards, technicians, home health aides, EMTs, and our pharmacists. All those who navigate the unfolding dangers of the world each day to tend to those they have sworn to help. May they be blessed in their coming home and blessed in their going out. May the sacred work of their hands be blessed, and may they bring strength and healing to those they serve. We include those members of our congregation, our family, our friends who are facing challenges to their health and their well-being. May the knowledge of your presence help ease their fear, sustain them, and give them strength and hope. And may the time come soon when they, and indeed all of us, will be able to breathe without fear. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. We praise you, O God, who helps us bring hope and healing to those who are in need, and to those who care for our ill. And let us say, Amen. Again, Shabbat Shalom to all of you who are able to join us. Thanks to the wonderful technology of our modern times. Thank you very much, David Youngman, for streaming our worship services so that we might continue to provide some connectivity to those members of our congregation and to those of you who are guests with us this evening. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is Shabbat Hagadol, the great Shabbat, the Sabbath before Passover. It was oftentimes in the past during this Shabbat that everyone would come to the synagogue, to the temple, to their shul. Not Rosh Hashanah, not Yom Kippur. Those were not the times that everybody came, but it was Shabbat Hagadol for a specific purpose. Before the advent of machinery and the modern industrial age, matzah was a very difficult product to come by. It was only acquired in temples and in synagogues the weeks leading up to Passover, where members of the community would come, and indeed often the more poorer members of the communities would come, and would bake matzah in the temple, in the synagogue, in their kitchen. Because temples and synagogues had industrial-sized kitchen ovens that would be able to heat the appropriate temperature to make matzah. You need a temperature of 600 to 800 degrees in order to really make matzah. I had the unique pleasure of touring a matzah factory in Israel during my rabbinic school years in Jerusalem at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. We went and watched as they made matzah. It was quite a show, a production. Indeed, it was a multi-manned production. There were 3 different machines that were used in the process of making the matzah. One was taking the dough and rolling it out very thin and putting those neat little holes in the matzah. Those holes that seem to serve no practical purpose. For those of us who have ever broken matzah, it never breaks along those dotted lines. Why is that? One of the great mysteries that hopefully we will eventually learn the great secret of as to why matzah never neatly breaks. No, indeed, matzah kind of shatters. It really doesn't break. It shatters. You try to break it up into neat little squares so they give everybody a piece at the Seder table. No, it shatters, and you've got huge pieces and small pieces and a whole bunch of crumbs flying all over the place. In spite of those dotted lines. Why is that? And so you would come to the temple on Shabbat HaGadol before the days of Manischewitz, who was the first to industrialize the making of matzah. And matzah was round. It was not square. It did not fit neatly into a box. Ooh. And for those of you who might be from the great state of Ohio, here's a little insight on how Manischewitz has influenced popular culture. There are 2 restaurants that I know of that serve square hamburgers. One of them is affectionately known as Chateau Blanc, White Castle. The wonderful little square sliders that you would get at 2 o'clock in the morning after the bars closed. Not that I was ever there at 2 o'clock in the morning after the bars closed. The other restaurant, thank you, Ray. The other restaurant that serves square hamburgers is Wendy's. Both of them from Ohio, which was where Manischewitz set up his first factory to make, you guessed it, square matzah. You didn't know that, did you? And so the influence of Manischewitz transcends far beyond matzah and Passover, but has indeed influenced cultural institutions. Just a thought. And so people would come to the synagogue or the shul on Shabbat HaGadol in order to pick up their baked matzah. Because you didn't go to the grocery stores because the grocery stores didn't have it. It was only available in temple and synagogues before the late 1800s. Thanks to Manischewitz, now it's available in many grocery stores, although maybe not so much around our neighborhoods here. Indeed, it seems to be a fast and furious product flying off the shelves. I have heard it posted on various sites that those who are unable to buy bread at this time of year should consider stocking up on matzah as they did toilet paper. They both probably taste the same, but I think matzah is better served at Passover than to use as toilet paper. And so Jews would come to the synagogue on Shabbat HaGadol in order to be able to pick up their Passover supplies, most importantly, the matzah. Those of you who have a grill, be it barbecued or gas, I invite you to consider making matzah at home. Google matzah. You'll find recipes. There are plenty out there. You just need a 600 to 800 degree oven in order to do it. Those of us, our ovens in our kitchens aren't going to do that. They'll get up to 500 and you'll have to cook it and flip it and let it dry out, and it'll take a while. So whatever. Those of you with grills, I indeed am going to try making matzah for the first time in our family's history on my grill. So we're going to see what happens. Use a baking sheet, one that can withstand the heat. Don't use an aluminum pan. It's one of those disposable aluminum pans because that 600 to 800 degrees, those things will melt. And so, use a real cookie sheet. You might be able to make your own matzah at home this year, and then we'll show Manischewitz and Ben Yehuda and all the other matzah makers, that we can make matzah in our times of physical distancing. So Shabbat HaGadol was the time that Jews all came to the synagogue, the shul. This was the time the rabbi delivered a sermon. Not Rosh Hashanah, not Yom Kippur. It was Shabbat HaGadol, this one. I won't bore you with a high holiday sermon along this Shabbat because, hey, it is Shabbat HaGadol, the great Shabbat. And remind you that for those of you who will be celebrating a Seder, feeling a little isolated in your home, check out our YouTube channel, posted Wednesday afternoon. By Wednesday afternoon will be a video of the entire Seder meal, the Haggadah text, everything included. You can start it at whatever time you would like to begin your Seder. For our rabbis, they were motivated with trying to recapture the pageantry, the joy, the majesty of bringing the Paschal sacrifice, the lamb, to Solomon's temple and having it sacrificed. Certainly an awesome and probably slightly gory event. When the temple was destroyed in the year 70 by the Romans, Judaism faced an existential threat. Would there be a Judaism after this event? So much of it had been focused on the temple sacrifice. Fortunately, our leaders, the rabbis, the Pharisees, as they would become the rabbis, took hold of the teachings of our prophets, who from the 9th century BCE had been trying to teach the Israelites that God does not need animal sacrifices. Those animal sacrifices were meant to wean us off of something much more heinous, that of human sacrifice and sacrificing our children. Not only the ancient Canaanites and those inhabiting the Middle East did that, but we have found the mummified remains of the children offered by the Aztec and the Incas. And again, we sing to our children a nursery rhyme about child sacrifice. Remember, a baby falling is always a bad thing. A baby falling from a treetop is nothing short of a disaster. And yet we would sing to our children, "Rock-a-bye baby on the treetop," a sort of expression of that collective consciousness of the time in which we used to offer our children to the tree gods. What a horrible, horrible thing. Well, we transitioned from sacrificing our children to sacrificing animals. But shortly after we started that, our prophets were reminding us God doesn't need animal sacrifices. It took the destruction of the temple in the year 70 to wake up our people to the realization that, God does not need this. And we transitioned to something different. So our rabbis were trying to create and recreate the pageantry and again the majesty and the sanctity of that experience. And they did so in the Seder meal. But they did even more than that. Our rabbis totally democratized Judaism after the destruction of the temple. Prior to the destruction of the temple, you brought your lamb to the priest. It was sacrificed. You ate it with bitter herbs and unleavened bread with your family gathering. That was Passover. No big meal other than the roasted meat and the bitter herb and the unleavened bread. No 4 questions, no 4 cups of wine, no. With the destruction of the temples, the rabbis recreate Judaism and retool Judaism. Now, for Passover, every home becomes the temple. Every table is the altar. And every head of the household is the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. And thus the meal becomes ritualized for every Israelite, not just the priests, not just the Levites, everyone. This was an incredible transformation. And everyone was empowered to engage in this. Texts were provided, as Maxwell House has done for hundreds of years here in the United States. And the reason why Maxwell House did this was truly sechel on the part of Maxwell House. Because you see, Ashkenazic Jews are forbidden to eat beans and rice and legumes. But beans. What is coffee made from? Beans. And so Maxwell House came out with kosher for Passover coffee. All coffee all coffee is kosher for Passover. But Maxwell House marketed it, put on their coffee beans kosher for Passover, and included the Maxwell House Haggadah. Some of us even have the Maxwell House Haggadah. I have a copy of the Maxwell House Haggadah. It's the complete text, everything you could ever want. And so Maxwell House cornered the market, and Jews who were looking for coffee to serve at their Passover Seder passed over Folgers and bought Maxwell House because it said kosher for Passover, even though all coffee beans are kosher for Passover. Brilliant. Brilliant. But that comes a few thousand years later. Our rabbis wanted to empower each of us to experience Passover, not just as a bystander, bringing our lamb, but rather as an active participant. This is the beauty of our Passover Seder. And this year, with a lot of businesses unfortunately suffering during this time, and indeed many families suffering during this time, we nevertheless have the freedom to do what our rabbis had hoped we would do, which is begin our Seder and then talk all night about that which is truly important to us. Not to turn on the TV, not to jump onto Netflix or Prime Video, but rather to engage each other in conversations about what is truly important. And now as we face this pandemic and the realization of the possibility of hundreds of thousands of Americans dying because of this, now more than ever we confront our own fragility and our own mortality. May we have the strength on this Passover to set aside, our usual activities and instead engage in conversations about that which is truly meaningful. Our society has been forced to hit the pause button. And while we pause, we should not immediately start rushing back into everything we did before, but rather we should take advantage of this time to reflect on where we are as a society and to challenge ourselves to do better. No one's created a perfect society yet. We are still searching and struggling for nirvana and utopia. But that is no excuse for us not to try to better our society and to better ourselves. This Passover challenges us to free ourselves from all of the taskmasters into which we have become enslaved. The status quo, the acceptance of homelessness and violence, the acceptance of poverty. Now's the time for us to really look at ourselves and our society and decide where and what we want to become. Everything's on pause. This is the best time for us to examine ourselves and our society. Can you hear it, Sonenu? So may it be our will to have the strength and the courage to do exactly that. Not only on this Shabbat, not only on this Passover, but in the coming weeks ahead, to challenge ourselves and our leadership to be better and to be more. Shabbat Shalom. This is also the first Friday of the month of April. Hard to believe, isn't it? So I invite those of you at home or wherever you find yourselves, if you are celebrating a happy event this month, a birthday, an anniversary, a mortgage burning, a final car payment, retirement, or reemployment, amidst all of the challenges that we are facing, Judaism teaches us we must also drink from the cup of joy as well as the cup of bitterness. And so let us amplify our joy by acknowledging anniversaries and birthdays. Sorry, I don't know who's burning their mortgage. I don't know who's making a final car payment. But I do know those members of our congregation who are celebrating an anniversary. And so our wishes go out to Ted and Noelle Singer, David and Karen Youngman. David is here. Sorry, Karen. Thank you for sharing him with us tonight. Mark and Robin Ballin, Danny and Linda Morris, Ken and Linda Sealander, Doug and Joanne Kotkin, Mark and Lori Cudler, Tom and Kathy White, Gilbert and Dina Delgado, and Leo and Sylvia Schmidt. Happy anniversary to you all. And those who are celebrating a birthday this month include Albert Roebuck, Steve Weissel, Rose Eskenazi, Sandra Gelmini, Fred Fink, Deli Harris, Stuart Feldman, Sheldon Culkin, Mark Ballin, an anniversary and a birthday. Good job. Melissa Galvin, Eliana Cudler, Barbara Kaplowitz, Michelle Sievertson, Howard Hoffman, Peggy Roman, Ben Lippy, Ming Gamberg. Oh, Ming. Jacob Tucker, Max Volan. Finally, your official birthday, Max, after all those years in religious school where every Sunday was your birthday. Charles Salinger, Sharon Goldman, Joanne Kotkin, also a birthday and anniversary. Well done. Norma, goodness gracious, read, Mark. Norma Lippy, Shirley Mallon, Lila Fenton Strauss, Sandy Lakin, Jeff Strauss, Fred Malkin, Kim Gimbel Johnson, and Janice Dezen. Whew, that was a long list. Happy birthday to you all. Happy anniversary to those of you. Let us join together in our prayer of gratitude, our Shehechianu, as we celebrate these wonderful and momentous occasions in the month of April.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu vekimanu vehigianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu vekimanu vehigianu lazman hazeh.
Mazel tov, happy birthday, happy anniversary, happy mortgage burning, final car payment, whatever you're celebrating this month, happy event to you all. We move to the conclusion of our service with the words of our Aleinu. I introduce the adoration with the following thought. There lies before us, if we choose, continued progress and happiness, knowledge and wisdom. Shall we instead choose death because we cannot forget our quarrels? We appeal as human beings to human beings. Remember your humanity and forget the rest. Continue with the words of our Aleinu, the adoration.
Aleinu l'shameach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedola liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot, velo zamanu k'mishpachot ha'adamah, shelo sam chel
Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, those who live on in our hearts, in our memories, and in the place we call Olam Haba, the world to come. We call to mind those for whom we are observing the Shloshim, the 30 days since their death. Nat Krotinger, a long-time Temple Beth Or member, Ed Weil, the husband of Julie Weil, and Agnes Fuchs, the mother of Georgette Lilly, grandmother of Heather Kaplan, and great-grandmother of Gabriella Lilly and Miguel. To those names, we link the names of those whose yahrzeits have occurred during this past week: Harry Moss, Rebecca Stein, Nick Scotto, Ruth Kramer, Ryan Gunther, Carl Hirsch, Ruth Miller, Dr. Archer Jewel Sokol, Eugene Windell, Dora Doodlebaum Dubovi, Joseph Gimbel, Minnie Yellen, Francis Michael, Nancy Seman, Hazel Globerman, Jenny Havas, Ruth Weinstein, Stanley Young, Samuel Feuerman, and Esther Benvenisti. To those names, we link the names of those for whom we are observing the Kaddish period: Inga Spiegel, Adrian Casson, Florence Sachs, Cam Craig, Annette Raymond, Irving Drobny, Bernard Beskin, Nancy Zinberg, Howard Brookfield, Eric Lertzman, Sandra Lertzman, Michael Lertzman, Paula Marcus, Don Kessler, Catherine O'Salisbury, George Sachs, Adrian Henschel, Murray Gimbel, Margaret Hershkowitz, Dr. Gerhard Pascas, Jerry Robinson, Rebecca Lumelli, Dwayne Craven, Cynthia Algra, Gloria Delator Wyckoff. If there's a loved one whom you are remembering, I invite you to share that name at this time. To those that we have named aloud, and to those that we keep named in the quiet places of our hearts and memories, we link as well the names and memories of the men and women of our armed forces who have given their lives for our liberties and our freedoms, those who have given their lives for our safety here at home, the members of our police, our firefighters, our first responders, our EMTs, and indeed our medical professionals who have perished during these recent days. And of course, the members of the Israeli Defense Forces who have given their lives for the hope of peace. Zichronam livracha. May their memories always be for a blessing, as we share together the words of our Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. B'yalma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kari vimru. Amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei d'kudesha b'richu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May all of us who mourn, and all of us who are bereaved, may we find through God's eternal presence a source of strength, courage, and hope, above all a source of shalom, of peace. And let us all say, Amen. Although we have not gathered physically for this concluding song, it is nonetheless a prayer and a hope for us on our way to Tfilat HaDerech. We continue our journey through these days of physical separation. We continue our journey as our nation prepares for the onslaught, or more than onslaught. It continues to prepare for the manifestation of this COVID-19 disease as it continues to rear its ugly head in our nation. And so we hold out hope and prayer for all of us. Those who are well, those who are facing challenges, may we be blessed as we go on our way.
Blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we
To all of you, from all of us here at Temple Beth Or, our cantorial soloist Ariel Goldfarb, our accompanist Dr. Ray Irwin, our captain video David Youngman, and myself, Rabbi Mark Goldfarb, we wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, a Sabbath of peace, a Sabbath of wholeness, but most importantly, a Shabbat Lavriut, a Sabbath of health. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
And thank you for joining us.